Hello and welcome to ACS Golf and this week's review. I'm looking at this, the Nike Max Speed Black SQ, so the square version. This comes from 2010. Now, the reason I've picked it up is number one, I've never tried square drivers. Obviously, there was a period where they were sort of the new hot things and never really took off. If you look at the reviews back from when they were released, especially this in 2010, people saying they're great forgiveness, etc. You talk to anyone nowadays, PJ Pro wise, and they'll go, "Oh my God, that was horrible. That was an awful time for drivers. Let's move on swiftly." So I wanted to give it a go myself. I wanted to pick them up, see how they are, and see if it's worth you guys potentially picking up in the second-hand market, because you can get these for around £50, so around $60. And so if you just want something you can go out, hit on the golf course, enjoy yourself without spending £100 plus or whatever, it could be potentially a good option. So that's the reason why. So let's get straight into it. So as always, with all my reviews, we'll have a closer look at the club. Then we'll come back here, talk through the technology about it. It's quite difficult to find sort of a lot of reviews for these clubs from 2010. So I will go through what I have found. Then we'll get down to range, give it a hit, come back here and then go through the ACS Golf Scale and I'll let you know my thoughts. So there you go. Let's have a closer look at this club. But as always, before I do, guys, do remember to hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel, so you don't miss out on weekly golf reviews like this and also other added videos as well. You know, really pushing the subscription this year, and I'd love you guys watching to be part of my journey. So do hit that subscribe button. Anyway, now let's have a closer look at this square. Some might say awful looking thing, and others might say, well, I think most will say awful looking thing. Let's have a closer look at it. So there you go, a closer look at the club. And colour scheme on point, bottom of it looks pretty cool. It's just that head shape. And I'll get in more into it when we get to the ACS Golf Scale. And also don't have a alignment aid, which is annoying. I will also say, no, head cover was black. It's cool as well. Also magnetic, which is quite cool. And you have a black shaft as well. You know, Mitsubishi, black shaft. So overall, colour-wise, very cool the whole way through. It's just that head shape. Not for me. Also no alignment aid as well, which is a bit annoying because I do personally prefer an alignment aid with my drivers. So getting into technology about this, it released, as I mentioned before, 2010. You did have the sort of better players, traditional pear-shaped driver, which is for people who wanted to fade it, move the ball, etc. While this was the maximum forgiving version, with the idea of that square head, you know, put all the weight at the back, help with launch and help with forgiveness and higher MOI. 460cc, so maximum head size you can have. Well, you know, you've had for years, to be fair, you can't go above 460cc. Loft-wise was available 9.5, 10.5 and 11.5 degrees. So you can tell there straight away, 11.5, you know, you're looking at that more forgiving driver. Your more players drivers maxing normally go up to about 10.5. This one was 10.5 in regular. There you go. Going into the technology about it and some spiel that I found online. Got optimal aerodynamics throughout the swing, where air moves closely over and around the club head, reducing drag so you get maximum speed and energy impact. And you can sort of see that here, actually, this sort of little bit around here, where it's a tapered heel geometry, which is there, and toe side aerodynamics, which runs all the way around, as you can see, which is a Nike Power Bow design promotes smooth airflow, which obviously gives for quicker acceleration. So again, more ball speed because the club head is moving quicker. So very much aerodynamics, even though it is a square head. You've got a sole diffuser as well. It keeps the airflow smooth and close to the club surface, reduces drag. And then you also remember this is all a titanium head. Carbon fiber hadn't necessarily come in at the time. Now, the party piece around this driver at the time was I always remember the name of it, so the STR8 fit. So straight fit. And you had this little weird tool with it and this weird, weird attachment there on the end. And the idea is you had 32 different possible face angles. So 15 closed, 15 open, and 2 neutral. And then obviously you can change loft. So 32 different options. That's insane. If anything, personally, I think that's too complicated and you don't need that many. You know, you can just go and get yourself fitted and get the right head for you straight off the bat. But the option was there, which, you know, at the time, Nike were really pushing. Is quite cool. The only issues with that nowadays is, number one, trying to find out how to work this thing. So all the different settings is quite difficult. And number two, you need this tool. And luckily when I picked this up, there you go, Night Golf on it, I actually came with it. It actually's got you can put a battery in it as well. And it sounds like it makes sound when you turn it, which I haven't done. But anyway, so you've got a Nike tool, and it's really hard to find these. So unlike, you know, your modern day drivers where they're all Allen key, all the same adjustment tool, just dropped it. So there's this one here. You can't necessarily adjust this if you buy it. So you could pick this up and potentially it could be in a setting that you don't like and you can't change it. So you need to be aware of that. But at the time, great, you know, it did mean that you could go and get fitted and they could really dial it into exactly what you needed. Which sometimes if you're a beginner golf, it doesn't really help because obviously then you move on and, you know, you're getting a better swing, you're getting a better player, and then suddenly this doesn't work for you anymore. So pros and cons to it, as always, when you have something that is so adjustable. But nevertheless, at the time, really good technology. So there's all the sort of technology in this club. Now let's get down to range. I'm going to throw some figures at you and then we'll come back here for the ACS golf scale. I will say before we get to range though, it was 2 degrees. If you're over here in the UK, you know what that is, 2 degrees. So freezing cold, so just above freezing basically, freezing cold. And I will say my swing was not on point and the ball didn't necessarily go as far as I would expect it to, but I will still give you the results and I'll discuss it later on. Okay, now let's get down to the range.
So here I am down the range. Now, as mentioned before, it was bitterly cold here, so I can't imagine that the ball was going to go as far as normal because obviously the ball's cold and we know in cold weather it doesn't travel as far. So normally with a driver I'd expect 250 yards. I did think I wasn't going to get this when it came down to the numbers, and I was right. So on average I had a carry of 208 yards, total distance of 230 yards, ball speed 147 miles per hour, which to be fair is just short of that sort of 150 mark that I'd aim for. Launch 13 degrees and height 55 feet. Really happy with the launch actually. I really found it's quite easy to get this ball up in the air, which is quite good, especially someone like me who tends to hit down on the ball and sort of close that club face as well. Swing speed, which I tested as well, normally for me is 98 miles per hour. I was actually getting 99 miles per hour with this club, so a little bit faster. So even though that head for me doesn't look aerodynamic because it's square, I was actually getting some good performance with it. The best on the day was a total carry of 232 yards, total distance 246 yards, ball speed 149 miles per hour, launch angle 15, height 80 feet, and swing speed 103 miles per hour. So potential there.
So there you go, 230 on average. Not really great to be honest. I know it was cold, 2 degrees, which is actually 35 Fahrenheit. I just looked it up. But still not great. I was testing a new driver from Srixon, and that was getting above the 250. And I didn't have one of this above the 250. I had 246 was the longest. So not great, let's be honest. So ball speed 147, not bad to be fair. Launch angle 13, great. I'm really happy with that. And height 55. So not brilliant. Even though it was cold, I would expect it to be a little bit better. Don't get me wrong. The longest on the day for me was 246. Again, didn't hit that 250 mark. Ball speed was 249. Height there was 80. So really did go up and spin quite a bit, I feel, with a club head speed of 103 miles an hour. So one thing I will say is club head speed wasn't down like I was expecting it to be down with that square head. Aerodynamics have worked quite well, and it's light as well, I'll say. So I was on averaging 99, even though it was that cold. So normally I'm about 98 miles per hour. So not bad there. Aerodynamics, even though it's a square head, does seem to work. Just unfortunately, the distance didn't quite match what I'd expect from that swing speed. So overall, let's get into the HSS Golf scale. So distance, I've given it a 2 out of 5. 230, really, all right. If I was going to be happy with it on a day like that, I'd expect 240 minimum, I'd say, on average. So it was a little bit low down, which I sort of expect, especially if I'm swinging at that speed. All right, I'm not going to be as fluid. I'm probably not going to hit the middle of the face as much as I normally do, but still, I was still getting decent ball speed. I was still getting 147 ball speed. I just wasn't getting the distance to match that, or what, even though I'd expect to be getting lower distance because of the weather, not quite what I'd expect it still, to be honest. So 2 out of 5, which I sort of expect. I always say you can pick up some really good secondhand deals and which perform just as well as in newer clubs, but there is a cut-off point in my mind. A lot of it for me is around that sort of 2016 mark with Jailbreak and Callaway, M2 for TaylorMade, etc. And so this is 2010, so it's 6 years before that. So I don't think they were quite at the limits of limits of all the rules, which they are now and have been for a good few years now. They weren't quite there, for example, with like the thinness of the face. So I'm not surprised it's a little bit down. So I'm not surprised with the 2 out of 5. If you've got really slow swing speed and this is light, are you going to notice a difference? In that case, probably not. So still not that bad, 2 out of 5. And at the time, everyone was raving, saying distance was great on these things. So there you go. Moving on to feel I go into 2.5 out of 5. Nothing bad, nothing good. I wouldn't say I felt massively powerful. I wouldn't say it felt weak. Just, it is what it is. It did its job. One thing I'll add with the feel, though, is the sound was horrific. It really was. All titanium, square head. Hated it. Hated the sound. A really high clap sort of thing. Awful. So do be aware of that. Going on to looks, I feel a bit harsh with this. And it really started off quite low, and it's still very low. I'm getting it 1.5 out of 5. I like the bottom of it. I think the bottom's quite cool. I love the whole black look through the whole way with the shaft, the head cover, everything like that. But for me, it's just that head shape. I look down at it. Some people look down at that and be very inspired with confidence because it is big. It's a big platform. But for me, I just can't look at a square head. For me, I very much prefer your better players, sort of low spinners, sort of quite squat pear shape. So no, not for me at all. Going to forgiveness. Forgiveness is pretty good. 3.5 out of 5 I've given it. I don't think the forgiveness is bad at all because of the head shape, because of the weight at the back and the way they've moved everything around, and the fact that you can get your swing speed up as well because it's so light. Forgiveness 3.5 out of 5. Sorry. I really don't think it's that bad at all. Going on to now the price. So as I mentioned before, you can pick this up for about £50, $63, which is the case. I've seen it on eBay. One for 65 was in top condition. Okay, so that's about $81. Another one, £35. So that's under $50. I think you're going to struggle maybe £50 to find it with one of these because it's very rare to find one of these. To be fair, I was very lucky to find one. But still, I think if you do find one, it's not going to be much more than 50, if not maybe 50 anyway. Golf Bidder, on the other hand, so second-hand shop, are selling them for like £70. So that's about $85. Out of everything else there, pretty much the same. But I personally would go for the pear-shaped one just because I prefer the looks. Might not get as much forgiveness, but I still think you'll get a decent amount of forgiveness and a better looking driver. But overall, I give it a 3 out of 5, to be fair, because yes, the distance isn't quite there. The forgiveness is. So, if you're looking at this and you only want to spend £50, put a driver in the bag, go out, have 18 rounds every now and again, then why not? You know, it's a talking point, it's square, it's going to offer you enough forgiveness, it's going to get you on the golf course. So why not? Yes, you might be five, you know, if you're playing with your average golfers, you might be five, maybe even, you know, I wouldn't even say five, yeah, 5 yards behind them possibly on average, but does that really matter? I wouldn't really say so. If you're that sort of just pick up, go and play every week, no, it wouldn't matter at all. If you're someone who's got really quick swing speed, who strikes the ball really well, lower handicapper, etc., and you're watching this, I mean, you can still get 50 quid, but I would get the other version. I'd get the pear shape. If you want to go down this route, definitely would personally. So there you go. So overall thoughts about a square driver, not for me. Hated the sound, don't like the looks, and I thought the performance when it comes down to distance was a little bit lower than it should be. But yeah, I think that's it. I wouldn't put a square driver in my bag at all. But I can understand back in the day why the reviews were pretty good on it, to be fair, because there's a decent amount of forgiveness in there. And for £50, so $60, can you really complain? Would you really not put that in a bag if that's your budget? Perhaps not. But there you go. There's my review of the Nike Max Speed Black SQ driver. A weird one. And personally, I'm quite happy that overall that they stopped making square drivers. So there you go. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a like if you did. Obviously, remember to subscribe to the channel and also comment down below. Have you ever played square drivers? You know, if you have, what do you think of them? Do you still play a square driver now? I'd really like to know your comments down below. All right, I'll catch you soon for the next ACS golf video. See you then. Bye-bye.